Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Inside Sport Management. It's a short series where we explore the leadership, governance and strategic development shaping the world of sport. In this episode, we will discuss a vital topic for the future of sport, the club development framework model for the sport industry. Our guest today has developed this model to help amateur and semi-professional clubs grow stronger and more sustainable. Before we begin, let's take a moment to learn more about his background and contribution to the industry.
Geoff runs his own consultancy business with a focus primarily on sport. Previously head of marketing and communications at the Irish FA, Geoff now consults to a wide range of global sports organisations on areas such as strategic planning, marketing and communications, digital, fans engagement, public affairs, women's football, league development, club development, and knowledge-sharing capacity building programmes. Geoff has created numerous academic models for the sports industry and has been to over 103 countries in various sports consultancy projects. Geoff is on the advisory panel at the English Football League and chair of the Sports Council Trust Company, Sport England organisation.
Hi, Mr. Wilson. It's a pleasure to have you with us on Inside Sport Management.
Thank you so much for asking me to be on your show. For those who don't know, my name is Geoff Wilson and I'm a global sports strategist. I work with many different sports right across the globe. I've been very fortunate that I've been to over 100 different countries, and really it's taking all of that learning from these 100 countries and putting them into the club development framework model that I have produced.
Let's begin with our first question. What inspired you to design the club development framework model, and why do you believe it's important for amateur and semi-professional clubs?
Well, the club development framework model was inspired by a simple but powerful insight, and that is that many amateur and sports professional clubs have the passion to succeed, but maybe in certain cases have the lack of clear, structured pathway to grow sustainably. And I wanted to create a model that could help clubs to move beyond that day-to-day survival and think more strategic about their future, their identity, the impact, and in essence, the long-term resilience of their club. Really, I wanted to ensure that the club has a future. Many existing club development resources, they focus solely on governance, compliance, income generation, or financial management. And while these are without doubt essential and they are included in my model, I saw a need for something more holistic, a framework that brings together a wider range of areas that included such as community engagement, youth pathways, the game day experience, promotion and communication, even coaching. What's your coaching philosophy, your style of play, and how are you training those coaches into one coherent framework? And for me, the model is important for both amateur and semi-professional clubs because it provides, well, first of all, clarity. It helps clubs to understand where they are on their development journey and what the next level of progress looks like. I think number two, it provides empowerment. It gives volunteers and club leaders the confidence to make those informed decisions to grow their club to ensure it has a long-term future. And I think number three, sustainability. It encourages strategic thinking that balances on-field performance to the off-field strengths as well. But as I say, ultimately, this model is about helping clubs to build strong foundations so that they can not only thrive, but also that they have a future and a strong, good future ahead of them.
Thank you for that insight. Now, moving to the next question. From your experience, which of the pillars within the framework do clubs find most challenging? And how can they begin to strengthen those areas?
Well, I think this is a great question. And for me, those, from my experience, the pillars that clubs find the most challenging, I think, are governance and admin, the game day experience, coaching, club cultures and values, and finally, people. It sounds a lot, doesn't it, what I've said? But these are the ones for me that I see that people maybe are not really focusing enough on. Although what I would say, this will vary depending on the size and the ambition and the volunteer base of a club. So let's look into these in a little bit more detail. Governance and administration. So many clubs, yeah, they do sort of struggle with this, basically because it's seen as bureaucratic rather than maybe exciting on-field type activities. This is where obviously, committees, many of them are volunteer driven, and maybe there's a high turnover of volunteers or part-time or full-time staff. So for me, I think in the governance and administration, how do we look to address this? Well, there needs to start off with clarity of roles and responsibilities and decision making. So, who's doing what? Are they absolutely clear on their role and the decision making process? Obviously, you can introduce simple governance, such as clear constitution, a good planning, and also good communication, training, and succession planning for the structures within your organisation. And those structures might be your assembly or your membership, your board, your subcommittees. So these are areas that really need to be real well thought out and put and documented, in addition to having the right policies and procedures in place. Number two is game day experience. Some people might be a little bit surprised by this one, but sometimes we're that focused on the game, which is good, that we forget about the actual game day experience. Having a great game day experience is vital, because especially if you're attracting new fans, let alone retaining your current fans, members, and players. Remember, if a player comes, they've got to have as well a good experience. So I would maybe start with this to make sure that the club's facilities are well kept, they're clean, that there's a welcoming environment for new players, members, or fans, and that maybe that includes having just a welcome team. Just make people feel welcome. Number three is coaching. I'm very fortunate. I'm a UEFA A licensed coach, and this is one of the reasons why I put this in. Good coaching can develop players. But we need to make sure that we're giving that coach, first of all, we're recruiting the right coach, but that we've got the right curriculum, philosophy of play, coaching sessions, and all of that detailed plan in place. We've got to make sure that we've got a coaching committee, an academy director in place. And as I say, for each of the teams, especially an academy, we're recruiting great coaches and we're giving them the education and training that they need to continually develop and progress in the game. So I would definitely start with making sure that your coaches have got an accredited license or some sort of training. And then from time to time, I would internally hold a coach education session so you can share learning between the coaches. Number four, culture and values. Now, many people, again, may not focus so much on culture and values, but in my knowledge and experience, this is one of the key areas that clubs really could look at in a deeper way. A positive culture attracts people. It's difficult to say. It's just more, what is a culture? It's like how we do things around here. You can't touch it, but it's there. And this becomes a great tool for recruitment. So where would I start? Well, clearly define what does the club stand for and what is the culture within the club. Define your values and what is acceptable and unacceptable behaviours. And number five, and the last part of this question, is people. Retaining volunteers or part-time or full-time staff, especially the brilliant ones, can be really tricky. But that's what you want to do. You want to attract brilliant people. And make sure that you're engaging with the younger audience or the younger members to make sure you get their view as well. Do not rely on a small number of people doing all the work. They'll just get overloaded and they'll just get tired and they'll get burnt out. And that's what we do not want. So what we've got to do, you've got to make sure that you're recruiting. What is the role that you need? Make sure that's clearly defined. What's the type of person that we need for that role? And that person, do they align with the club's culture and values? And make sure you're matching their skills and interests to that role. And make sure you celebrate when people have done well. Tell them that.
Finally, let's look at the future of the model. As the sports industry continues to evolve, how do you see the club development framework adapting to new challenges, such as digital transformation, sustainability, and community engagement?
Well, I think I see it evolving in maybe three areas. The club development framework will always evolve over time as the landscape, sport and community changes. But I think the more advanced clubs really will see themselves not just as sporting, but as community hubs. And I think that's going to be really important moving forward. But I think maybe three areas I would say. Number one, digital transformation. I think this will be an important place to focus on in the future, where clubs can integrate digital thinking into everything they do in terms of and that is more in terms of not just social media, but how they analyse on pitch, on court activities using digital. In other words, is it player tracking, player stats? How is the player performing and how can the coach use that data? But also off the field, how do you manage membership digitally? How do you take payments digitally? How do you book facilities digitally? Etc., etc., etc. I think number two is sustainability. I think sustainability will basically help clubs to assess their environmental feedback and their environmental impact. But that also has positives in terms of financial. So, for example, you might decide that you want to have more of an environmental impact by purchasing solar panels or an electric mower to cut the grass. So this not only will save your administrator's time, but also will generate electricity and money that might save you in the long run for the electricity cost in your club. And I think number three is about community. For me, community engagement is so important. Clubs I think that will thrive will be those that listen, co-design, and are really deeply embedded into their community. Really moving from what we do to why we do it. So in essence, the club development framework model role is to give structure to clubs that really want to develop and grow. Now, might I say, not all clubs maybe will want to develop and grow. They might just want to just play for fun, and that's fine. But there will be ones that will want to develop and grow. And this is to make sure that for those clubs that they stay relevant, resilient, and they're deeply connected to the people that they serve. On the back of this model, I've now produced a book, and this book will be out in early 2026. And this book is all about how to develop grassroots sports clubs. So be that football, be that hockey, rugby, be that basketball, whatever the sports club is, the book serves on how to develop the grassroots amateur semi-professional club. And it deals with some of the subjects that are in the model in terms of having a plan, having a great experience, having governance and admin, community engagement, and all the other elements that we've touched in the model.
Thank you very much for sharing your time and valuable insight with us. Your work has provided clubs around the world with a practical model for growth, governance, and sustainability. Before we close, I would like to highlight that Mr. Wilson's upcoming book, Leading a Grassroots Sports Club, will be available very soon. I encourage everyone interested in sport leadership and club development to check it out. Thank you for watching this episode of Inside Sport Management. Stay tuned for more conversation with leaders shaping the future of sport. Goodbye.